Alright Rockstar, I'm gonna be real with you. I understand it's a video game, and it's meant to be realistic in simulation of a criminal underworld and environmental textures. The game doesn't necessarily hit one aspect to make that as realistic as possible. It combines the shooting, driving, communications, all that bullshit, and makes them realistic only to an extent, so the game's convenient for the player and it's not so realistic that it ends up breaking the game. Just a small example, once you use a wanted level, and you pass by the police immediately after, they act as if they had not just been pursuing you. That's cool. No, more like preferred. The driving is meant to be arcade style, because a system like that Forza would really trigger a bunch of the minors that play this shit. And that's fine. I still can't decide if I'm a bigger fan of GTA 4's or GTA 5's driving dynamics and physics. GTA 4 is simply more realistic, except for the insane body weight from even normal safe turns. While GTA 5 is more convenient and easier except for the lane drifting and quite pathetic J-turns. The fact of the matter is, what I'm about to rant about like batshit crazy is a big steaming pile of bullshit. It makes you wonder if any of the designers of any shit in this game pertaining to la conducción have ever operated a motor vehicle in their lives. Note that these 10 logics are technical and therefore will contain some nerdy explanations from my car guy ass. They're not basic vehicular logics that shits fan and other people cover. Those will be saved for 10 honorable mentions that are more obvious and self-explanatory. Let's start at the max. I have here Uruguay Trofei Tufad, something like that, Nero. As you may know, its drivetrain is permanent all-wheel drive, so all 4 wheels receive power at all times. There is no clutch, synchronizer, computer, or other component that can deny the front wheels power. They will always turn with the rear wheels. I can prove this by butting my car against the wall and opening the throttle in its entirety to essentially drive in place. Everyone knows you can't do a burnout with all-wheel drive because you're driving in place and all 4 wheels will be spinning. You need some sort of lock to wheel to hold the vehicle in place. So how the fuck is a burnout possible in this all-wheel drive car? Rockstar logic, yo! Same with the Ballers and Tornado and our shit with all-wheel drive. Sure, the Baller's real-life equivalent, the Range Rover, is technically 4-wheel drive instead, which is simply all-wheel drive that does allow you to deny the front wheel's power and revert to rear-wheel drive. But GTA ain't got that crazy technologia, and you know exactly what I mean. You can bog the engine, which simply means rev it past redline or above the maximum recommended safe engine speed, done via setting the handbrake and opening the throttle in its entirety until the jackasses come home and it will never explode. This may also be a turn 10 logic since bogging the engine in Forza surprisingly doesn't damage the engine. But guess what? If you're going pretty fucking fast and you downshift by so many gears that you land the engine speed way over the red line, on top of spinning you out because you most likely didn't red match, it damages the engine from bogging reverse. And the engine braking will cause you to spin out, crash, and, well, die. Either way, I'ma still consider it a Rockstar logic. Speaking of bogging, there's a trick some self-claimed car guys, whose knowledge is derived from GTA, you know, a game that's totally realistic in its driving, used to get a speed boost that they apparently call downshifting, if I'm not mistaken. Fucking shaggy. You start accelerating, and once the car's at the top or second or third gear, I'm not sure which one, you blip the handbrake and the car starts bogging as if you redlined it or are out of gear. As it's bogging, you accelerate like fucking crazy. You may think that makes sense because the engine speed's so high it's got to be making an assload of torque. First off, hell no, you're past redline, way out of the power band. Secondly, the vehicle can accelerate in no way, shape, or form unless you are in gear. So the engine speed is proportional to the wheel speed. And the engine speed's increasing so it can, well, proportionally increase the wheel speed. Maybe you're facing downhill at a sharp enough slope, but you know what, fuck that, that don't count. I ain't doing that here. And since both of these rules are completely ignored by GTA, I declare this a Rockstar logic. Now you could say maybe my shafter has a continuously variable transmission, or CVT for short, but what the fuck kind of a performance car uses a transmission whose gear ratio is determined by some notoriously loose pulleys and a fragile ass belt? Oh, and speaking of CVTs, I think the semi-trucks in this game are run off CVTs. Look at the goddamn tachometer as I accelerate here. The engine speed gets up to redline, and it stays there for a short while. Okay, maybe I went off the throttle a bit. No, I'm still accelerating as fast as I can. Remember, the wheel speed can increase as it's doing here if the engine speed isn't proportionally increasing with it. Unless there's maybe a CVT. The fucking semi-trucks can't have that shit because that will just take the lives of truckers, and we could not have made it to half past 2017 without truckers. Oh, and speaking of semi-trucks, how in the holy ass can a big ass truck hit 60 miles an hour quicker than most affordable V6 sedans? Granted, unlike real life, the trucks in this game are apparently automatic, even though as far as I know, the game is set dans les États-Unis d'Amérique, where pretty much all the shit's manual. That still doesn't hide the fact that an automatic 2015 Volvo FH420 on the Accompanying is damned if it could hit 60 miles an hour, and takes over half a minute to even get to 50 miles an hour. Whoever engineered the Packard in this game is the god of automotive engineering to enable it to launch so quickly. Back to shifting, it seems every car in this game is automatic. I already mentioned how American-driven semi-trucks are apparently automatic now, but the pussification and increasing laziness of American drivers has now gotten to the point where apparently a fucking Viper is automatic. Look at this! I see 3 pedals and a nice long stick, no homo. Let's accelerate. Player's not letting off the throttle and clutching in. Wait, he's not using the pedals at all! The shifter ain't moving! Yet, shit's shifting. Alright, enough said, I believe. Speaking of this ridiculousness, so-called convenience, because, somehow easy driving is better than fun and engaging driving, it looks like the steering of all the cars in this game straight up takes a quarter of a turn to lock, or an eighth of a turn to crank the steering from center all the way to either end. That must be a huge ass pinion and a small ass rack, no sexual reference, to achieve such tight steering. Back to transmissions. Yeah, so we pretty much established that all cars in this game are automatic, right? Here's Rockstar in traditional Rockstar fashion, breaking their own rules and logic. When you're stopped in a car on level ground and the parking brake is disengaged, you're clearly in drive and you're not touching the foot, brake, or throttle. The car doesn't move. You might think that's normal, right?
Wrong.
The car is supposed to creep forward thanks to the fluid coupling of the torque converter, a device that replaces the clutch from a manual, allowing slippage and the loss of proportionality between the engine and transmission. If you drive in real life, this creeping forward should be familiar. So yeah, Rockstar, what the fuck is the creeping forward action? Speaking of all cars in this game being automatic and not truly acting like it, haha, I say speaking of this and that a lot, don't I? Anyways, if you drive in real life, assuming you drive an automatic, if you're just driving along and you let off the throttle without applying brakes, the car coasts. You already know what coasting is, I hope. When you let off all the pedals while the vehicle is in motion in this game, guess what happens? The car engine brakes, downshifts, and comes to a stop as if you brake. No coasting. While Forza lacks the creeping forward theme if you race an automatic or manual with automatic clutch mode, Even there, if you let off the throttle and disengage the clutch, assuming you're racing in manual with clutch mode, it coasts.
Hey, it's
Last but not least, at least for these 10 main technical logics, I just find it flat out amazing how an SUV can somehow stop from over 100 miles an hour in under 87 feet, at least that's what it looks like. And, you know, 87 feet is the distance taken by the Dodge Viper ACR to stop from 60 miles an hour. Oh, did I mention the ACR currently holds the world record for the shortest braking distance of any street-legal production car? I'm even more impressed by how GTA engineers engineer their brakes than they do semi-truck powertrains. The curb boost, yeah. In vehicles with this instrument panel like this pedal van, when you go into reverse, the gear display doesn't recognize that. It still says drive.
She's straight. It's me and you that ain't straight though, homie.
dog. I know, homie, but look.
Some cars completely lack reverse lights. Apparently no car in this game has a fuel cap like they did in the 3D universe. Take one step forward, 14 steps back. A V12 dubs to 6x6, that's funny, because I never knew AMG made a G65 6x6. Wait, they don't! Or in the G63, which is a V8! It seems all cars have electronic throttle steps such as delay
it's
and a few predetermined engine speeds when revving. When I press the trigger, the lane Z is so damn noticeable, and you can't get the engine speed at a precise point for, say, launching. Passenger doors have 4 window switches, probably to control the driver, the only one who should have control of all the windows. No car, not even the Nero, can hit 150 miles an hour. The Chiron can do more than 100 miles an hour more than this, for God's sake. GTA head-on collisions are equivalent to real-life fender benders. Oh come on, I should have gotten annihilated there. Damn, these GTA engineers have really outdone themselves with the noise cancellation. So much that you can barely hear jack shit's worth the engine, even when you're outside, and with the hood open. Why can't we have these cars in real life?